Majo John Madden Juanito in Acapulco, Mexico, little pueblo in the Riviera Maya, long ways away from the corridors of power at AT&T in Basking Ridge, New Jersey, where I spent several years at the height of my management consulting career. And I am, as part of finding out, remembering who I am, really taking a look at how it was that I, a working class kid, who in my family, the notion of working with high-level managers in corporations, no, that was not part of the deal. My dad was an installer for the phone company. He was Ma Bell, who was the Bell, back before it had been broken up. He worked for the Bell system. How did that happen? And piece by piece, I'm filling it in, like, how did God develop me? How did life develop me to be someone who could do that, who could tell very powerful AT&T managers, several levels above my pay grade, what they were doing wrong, and help hold their hands to the fire, hold their feet to the fire while their employees, with my encouragement, gave them feedback about what was actually going on in their teams. How did I get to that point? I was a psychologist in Syracuse, New York, doing psychotherapy practice in private practice, and writing a little column in the Syracuse weekly business newspaper about the human side of business. Total bluff, because I'd never been there. I had never had a consulting client. So how did it happen? I'll tell you the first huge failure. I got a chance to audition for some kind of a company that was considering bringing a consultant in to help them with their management team. And I had a meeting with the management team, an hour, I guess. Well, the one guy in that team was the powerhouse. He was the real power. And when I said at some point, in kind of a mealy-mouthed psychological statement, I said, but true, I said, you need to know when to push ahead and when to back off. And he says, I'll tell you when to back off. Never. And you could hear a pin drop. And I said something wimpy. I wilted. I was not ready to be challenged like that. I did not know how to respond, and I didn't get the job. Did not get the job. So what were the levers life pulled to get me ready for that? In Chicago, after that, I'd gone to Chicago from Syracuse, and I was doing psychotherapy. And a psychotherapy client of mine, I was working with her and her husband on their relationship. She got a big promotion at the family business where she had been the personnel manager. They were going to make her the COO, really take over the reins, because the two brothers-in-law who had run this paper plant forever just could not get along. They had a very competitive, difficult relationship. Don was super smooth, smart, sophisticated. Alan was a big, rough production guy, and he did not like Don at all. And so as part of Joan taking over the reins, she brought me in to work with the three of them on their relationship. And it included, at one point when things got really hot in that room, me saying to Alan, put the chair down, Alan. You are not going to hit Don with that chair. So I came through that. That was a trial by fire. Yeah. And at that same time, I was working at the West Side VA Hospital. Really tough inner city VA hospital. There were 4 VA hospitals in Chicago. This was the one that was 90% black, poor, disadvantaged, black, and most of the clients there had dual diagnosis. They had a psychiatric diagnosis and a drug diagnosis, some kind of substance use. And it was tough. Other black vets would avoid that hospital because they were scared of getting hurt there. And these guys had such difficult situations. It was day hospital. They came every day for 30 days, sometimes 60. And I rewrote my job description. I said, we're not going to fix these guys. We're not going to turn their lives around. My job description is to hang out and tell the truth. And hope, trust that something good, something therapeutic will come out of that. And I did, and I was good at it. It was frontline practice at just telling the truth to guys who were tough. The crowning glory of that beam moment where I really got tested. This was a white patient, and he had worked really closely with me. He really trusted me, and we made a lot of progress. But in the large group, which was like 30 patients, 10 staff, 5 or 6 interns and residents, all sitting around in this one meeting, and I said something trying to understand what he had said. And he looked at me, and what he did was he showed off to his brethren how tough he was. And he looked at me and says, you would not know anything about this. It was such a direct assault on our relationship. I took a breath and said, fuck you. And afterwards, my boss, Myrtle Mason, who was Jamaican and British, formal, she loved me and admired me, but she was super formal. I thought, oh, I'm going to hear it there. That sure didn't come out of any therapy handbook. When we went into our staff debrief, she said, that was perfect. That was perfect. You were not intimidated. You met him man to man, spoke his language. It was just right. So that was coming of age for me. At one point, around that same period, one of the interns said to me, so when that client was waving that pool cue in front of you, like right in front of you, were you not afraid he was going to hit you? Nah, I knew he wouldn't. About a week or two later, I got hit. Yeah, it was a freak thing. That same guy, Mike, who had challenged me in the meeting, was going off, and the nurses said, Mike's going off, go see if you can talk him down. I came around the corner as he came around the other way. He was Vietnam PTSD. It startled him. He picked me up and threw me, and I got 9 stitches in my forehead. I've still got a scar from it. And I was traumatized. It took me a while to feel comfortable again after that. When I got a chance to get hired at AT&T as an organization development consultant, and I was, at that same time, there was a wonderful organization development professional group in Chicago, OD Network. And I was attending all their meetings and having informational interviews, asking people, well, how does this work? And what do you do in your job? And I was dating a woman, Mary, who was an OD consultant at a company. And when I got the nod at AT&T, she says, most people will not understand why your 4 years at the VA hospital prepared you for this work, but I do. I know why you're ready for AT&T now. Yeah, because you know that no matter how they bluster, no matter how they position and try to intimidate you, you know they're not going to physically attack you. And it was true. It was true. I was never intimidated by those guys. Never, ever, ever. And got really good at speaking truth to power or facilitating their staff doing participative management, giving them feedback so they could improve the way they worked. And I got to where when I sat down with the manager and said, I've been around interviewing people and here's what I got. When I'd say, here's what you're doing wrong, they'd listen. They would listen. They trusted me. So I had a spectacular career at AT&T, wildly successful. And then went on, parlayed that, and did very high-level work at Arthur Andersen, a consultant, accounting, when it was the Cadillac of all the accounting firms, at Accenture, Arthur Anderson Consulting Division, did super high level work there. Never, ever, ever intimidated by anybody. Okay, but early on in my AT&T work, I remember saying, every day in this job, I do something more threatening and intimidating than the day before. So after a while, my anxiety reflex just died, just went away, and I just go do it. Yeah. Thank you, life, for smarter than me, way smarter than me. I don't know how you knew to give me exactly the right experiences I need, but I've always carried that with me. I know that I was hot at AT&T. I know that I was good at what I did. And at the organization development chapter in Chicago, I was the rock star. I went from the guy who's, well, how do you do this? To everybody wanted the informational interviews with me. So it's good. Good. I'm not doing that work anymore, but it has shaped who I am and how I feel about myself and how I am in the world. Yeah. Thank you, God. Good job. I do give performance reviews to God, and I frequently will say, you are doing a hell of a job, God, overall, and in several specific areas. Okay, thanks.